Well, the first thing I'd like to discuss is our conference. I spoke extensively about it before the event, featuring many of my authors as speakers on my show. They were subsequently invited as guests, and although we had some excellent programs during those interviews, the real highlight was the conference itself. Following its conclusion, attendees approached us, expressing that it was the best conference they had ever attended. I mentioned this not out of ego, as we had no expectations. This marked our inaugural conference, and surprisingly, everyone commented on its professionalism and wonderful atmosphere. The energy, especially around the fireplace, was described as magical. Even the vendors, quite unbelievably, admitted that they didn't mind if they didn't make sales because the overall energy of the event was so enchanting and magnetic. People raved about the entire hotel and the diverse group we brought together, labeling it one of the most spiritual and magical experiences they've encountered. Now, they continue to praise it as the best, leaving us wondering how we can surpass this success since there's always room for improvement. While this was our first conference, I have attended hundreds worldwide and assisted others in organizing similar events. Drawing from my experience, I've also been involved with the UFO conference held annually, speaking since April as the mayor for the past 19 years. So, although this was a new venture for us, it wasn't entirely starting from scratch, which can be overwhelming. We knew the intricacies of organizing such gatherings. Moving on, I'd like to highlight our esteemed speakers. The keynote speaker was Arun Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, who also appeared on my show last month. He shared insights into his association with his grandfather, recounting various experiences and lessons learned. The audience was truly captivated. Additionally, a special moment unfolded with Aaron Abraham's son, who has been retired for many years. In the 70s, particularly extending into the 80s, he refrained from identifying himself as a psychic, although he had mastered the art of entering trance states and delving into the Akashic records much like advocacy. His success in this endeavor led him to conduct sessions for individuals worldwide, making him highly sought after. Over the course of his career, he performed over 8,000 readings, exploring the Akashic records to reveal details about people's past lives and how these experiences influenced their present. Eventually, after dedicating a considerable amount of time to this practice, he decided to retire. During the 80s and early 90s, he also engaged in producing the Abrahamson Report, particularly focused on Earth changes, a period many might still remember. Several years ago, approximately 3, he suffered a stroke, resulting in a complete loss of speech. This was a disheartening setback for him, as he felt that everything was now over. However, his devoted wife, Doris, played a crucial role in his recovery. Having been married for 56 years, she accompanied him to the conference, where we had the pleasure of meeting her. Despite the challenges, she helped him regain his ability to speak, essentially teaching him English anew. He likened this experience to when he first came to the United States from Norway as a young man and had to learn the language. When we invited him to the conference, given that I had published his book, he hadn't engaged in public speaking or appearances for several years. Despite his concerns about his speech and whether people would understand him, he expressed missing the interaction with audiences, the discussions, and lectures that were once a significant part of his life. To accommodate his apprehensions, we agreed to let Doris join him on stage. When I made the announcement, he reassured everyone, sharing his journey of recovering from a stroke and only requesting their patience as he delivered his talk. It was a remarkable experience because the audience displayed great understanding, and he delivered a wonderful lecture. Surprisingly, he didn't seem to falter much at all, and it was genuinely delightful. Throughout the entire conference, we witnessed him blossom and change, as if he was coming alive again. Later, he expressed his gratitude, saying, "You saved my life. I really didn't want to go on, I thought my life was over." I'd never be able to lecture again or do any of the things I wanted to do. He was deeply discouraged, but he mentioned that coming to the conference and engaging in this experience again had awakened dormant aspects that he thought were long gone. Now, everything was coming back, and you could see the light return to his eyes as he truly blossomed and came to life. He wasn't the same man who left as the one who entered. His wife was almost moved to tears, expressing, "You don't know what you've done for him. You've given him back his life. Prayer is not over with. Why else would he learn how to speak all over again? He had to go through a great test, had to face something. They always say you have to go through the test of fire. We all do this. Every one of us has had something difficult to face." I pondered why he had to endure such a challenging test and manage to learn how to speak again. It implies that his career is not over, he has a life ahead, and who knows where it's leading. Perhaps he'll re-enter the field of psychic phenomena that he devoted his life to. This was another wonderful experience that occurred there. As I mentioned, the entire conference was magical, and those who attended could feel it. It was very real and very good. Then, we had Father Pat McNamara, who was also one of my guests last month. He served as a Catholic priest for 18 years and spoke about life after leaving the church, highlighting the connection between the Catholic Church and spirituality and metaphysics. His presentation moved people to tears because it was so beautiful. One aspect I appreciated was his exploration of the Church's history, where he stated that very few people, especially average Catholics, are aware that the Church once believed in reincarnation. They believed in all these things, it was part of their teachings. As I've mentioned before, reincarnation served as the foundation for the belief systems of every religion worldwide. It was only later that many of these beliefs were altered. He delved into the history of how the Catholic Church initially embraced reincarnation in its early days, around the 3rd century, specifically during the compilation of the Bible. It was at that point that these teachings were excluded from the final version of the Bible. I've discussed this previously, but hearing it from a former priest adds weight to the argument. People tend to believe him because they know he wouldn't lie about it. He spoke passionately about returning to the original essence of the religion, reclaiming the basics that got overshadowed by dogma and theology throughout history. The Church needs to revert to those fundamentals, which Jesus originally intended, a message rooted in love. It was a wonderful experience to hear him talk about these aspects, sharing insights into his life and the moment he decided to leave the Church, eventually getting married. The audience was moved to tears during some particularly beautiful parts of his narrative. Once again, it was a remarkable experience bringing all these diverse perspectives together. Then, we had Dr. O.T. Bonnet, a medical doctor for 44 years, with 3 of his books published by us. At the age of 81, he seems to be embarking on a whole new career. In his books, he mentions never falling sick, much like myself. He hasn't experienced any illnesses for many years because he discovered the mind's ability to heal the body. This is what he aimed to introduce into the medical field during his career, despite facing great opposition from other doctors who were skeptical. Nonetheless, being a highly respected physician, he even ran an entire hospital at one point. We published 3 of his books, and he spoke on 2 consecutive days, covering both subjects. The book he authored is titled Reincarnation, The View from Eternity. He discussed how he employed hypnosis, a practice he had been using for 50 years, even predating my 40-year experience. His focus was on establishing connections between people's current illnesses and their past lives. In situations where current circumstances couldn't provide answers, he used hypnosis to explore past lives and identify links to their present health issues. This approach helped avoid unnecessary surgeries, aligning with my own efforts to intervene before surgical procedures, aiming to identify the root cause of ailments. However, using hypnosis was a clandestine operation because the medical profession disapproves of such practices. Once his unconventional methods became known, he had to either cease the hypnosis sessions or conduct them discreetly at the person's home. Reincarnation, the view from eternity, delves into his insights derived from these experiences. 2 more books were released, with one coinciding with the week of the conference. The titles are What I Learned After Medical School and Why Healing Happens. In the latter, he explored various cases and arrived at the conclusion that individuals can make themselves ill for various reasons. I've encountered similar findings in my work, the mind's power to both induce and cure illness. Understanding why one manifested the illness in the first place is crucial for self-healing. People often create ailments for specific reasons, and once those reasons are identified, the mind's formidable influence can be harnessed for recovery. In Why Healing Happens, he discussed cases where diet played a significant role. Despite the medical profession's reluctance to embrace such terms, he attributed a considerable portion of the health issues to dietary habits. By investigating people's food choices, he successfully addressed many problems by implementing dietary changes. There are simple things that the average medical professional and doctors often overlook. They tend to prefer extensive tests, searching for complicated issues when, in many instances, the problem might be quite simple. When these simple factors are disregarded, the situation tends to worsen over time. In his books and talks, he illustrated how individuals unintentionally contribute to their own illnesses. I've had people share similar sentiments, questioning, "What do you mean? I don't want to be sick. I didn't make myself sick." However, when we delve into the basics, we realize that, for various reasons, we may unknowingly contribute to our own illnesses. Understanding these reasons is crucial. Why do we make ourselves sick? What is the purpose of having this experience? Life is filled with lessons, be it a test or an experience we need to go through. Regardless, we must discover why we've given ourselves a particular disease or illness. Once we comprehend this, we realize that we possess the power to cure ourselves. Dr. Oti attempted to make his clients understand that the body is alive and every cell within it has consciousness, a perspective often overlooked. All cells are living entities with their consciousness, and we can communicate with them. We can convey our desires for a healthy body, one functioning in complete balance and harmony, and the body will comply, doing whatever we instruct it to do. If we desire illness, it will comply, as it feels compelled to obey the signals from the body's consciousness. By acknowledging the consciousness within each cell, we can achieve incredible healing for our bodies. Dr. Oti encouraged people to consciously communicate with different cells and body parts, concentrating on the area that requires attention. While our approaches differ, mine involving hypnosis where the subconscious speaks to individuals, his focusing on deliberate conscious communication, we both arrive at the same conclusion from different directions. Now, there's a special way to approach this, and he provided many examples of patients who initially felt it was silly, but his approach proved effective. Why not at least give it a try? He instructed individuals to speak to that specific part of their body and advised them to use the word we. We are getting better. We are experiencing a healthy body. The discomfort is going away. The idea is to talk as though in cooperation with the cells in the body, affirming that the body is healthy, and they are feeling better. This way, that part will listen and understand that the message comes from a higher authority. If you speak to that part of the body and convey your desires using the plural, we, it creates a sense of collaboration. Initially, some patients dismissed it as silly, and when they didn't follow through, they returned without improvement, even getting worse. Dr. Oti would inquire if they did what he suggested. Often, they admitted neglecting the practice, attributing their lack of improvement to other factors like their diet. When asked about talking to their body and cells, they found it silly initially but saw significant improvement when they started doing it. The body responded positively, using the term we, and they experienced less pain, discomfort, and even a wonderful healing process. Dr. O.T. referred to this healing process as the little army in the body, the defense system repairing damages and identifying unwanted elements. Acknowledging and appreciating this process, speaking positively to that part of the body, and expressing gratitude for its role in maintaining health can be beneficial. Trying out these methods suggested by Dr. O.T. doesn't harm and may even inspire you to invent your own ways of communicating with your body. These were some of the concepts Dr. O.T. discussed. He presents himself as a gray-haired man with a beard, resembling the typical country doctor. His books include Reincarnation, The View from Eternity, What I Learned After Medical School, and Why Healing Happens. We've published 3 of his books. Another addition to the conference was Christine Ramos, who joined last minute after we published her book. It was released the same week as the conference, and we signed a contract with her, pushing hard to ensure her book, along with O.T.'s, was available for sale at the conference. Both books came out the week of the conference, adding to the excitement of the event. Christine Ramos, a registered nurse with extensive experience in the obstetric unit, was also a guest on my show last month. Over her 10 to 15 years as an obstetric nurse, she has challenged the medical establishment. During the conference, I made a statement that spontaneously came to me. I remarked, most of our speakers are rebels. They're the ones trying to change the status quo, urging people to think for themselves, not accepting the way things have been forever. These individuals are attempting to make a difference. So, they are rebels, the priest, the doctor, and now Christine. Christine's focus is on the spirit of the baby in the obstetric world, the baby that's about to be born. Her book, A Journey Within, The Journey into Being, delves into communicating with your child as a spirit before its birth and understanding it as a spirit. Contrary to the common perception in the medical profession, which views the baby as an unformed, malleable being with no background or memory, Christine encourages seeing the baby as an old soul coming into an infant body. She emphasizes that the spirit of the baby, much like all of us, has experienced many lives and makes decisions about the parents, environment, culture, and race to set up the conditions for its next life. The spirit communicates on a different level with the parents, often through dreams. Christine shared examples, including instances in her own life, where dreams foretold the arrival of a baby, and the unborn child communicated with them, expressing its decision to make this journey. There were cases where women didn't think they could get pregnant, yet they had dreams about these babies who eventually were born. The spirit chooses the parents and the environment, possessing more knowledge than we often credit. However, upon entering the body, the memory is erased, and the spirit comes in with blinders on, veiled from past knowledge. Upon death, the veil is lifted, and all truths and knowledge are revealed again. In my own work, I once pondered whether life would be easier if we knew why we were coming in, the past life connections, and the agreements we had made. However, I was told that it wouldn't be a test if we knew the answers. Life, essentially a school, is filled with lessons, and one cannot progress to the next lesson until passing the current grade. It's the tests and lessons we must navigate.